everybody. I'm Stacey J.
And I'm Chuck Duran.
Welcome to another episode of VO Buzz Weekly.
That's right. Are you guys ready for part 2 with Nancy Wolfson?
We are.
I have an awesome question for you.
He's pulling up his sleeve.
I'm pulling up my sleeves, baby. Uh-oh. We know, okay, we all know, there's a lot of coaches out there, okay?
Are there?
There are. Okay, there are. Yeah, there are. But not all of them are effective, and we know that to be true as well. What do you think makes you effective as a coach?
I'm relentless. I'm passionate. I'm obsessive. And, you know, the people's great qualities are the flip sides of their not so great qualities.
Yeah.
I'm unrelenting. And the good news is that when I attach to a student, I won't let them fail. And so I'm relentless. I won't let them fail.
She won't
Nice.
let you fail. Did
Well,
you hear that?
I can't control
No, but
certain
that's
things
heavy,
beyond.
yeah.
I sure don't want to let them fail.
Well,
Like,
you
it
can only
bothers
do
me.
your part of it. I mean, you can't
Right.
force
Right.
it, but if somebody's willing, you're not going to just, if it takes 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, you're not giving up, which is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, for every quality, you could describe it with the good adjective and the negative adjective, right? So which side of the prism are you going to see it through? Like, you know, people in my personal life might find me neurotic and compulsive. That's why my coursework is so detailed.
What about obsessive?
Well, obsessive are the thoughts and compulsive are the behaviors, right? Okay, so we've all been enough there. We'll separate those. So the obsessive thoughts are me waking up at 2 a.m. going, shoot, I didn't send him the audition. And I go over to my computer and I send it because I'm thinking about it 24/7.
Yeah.
So I guess the obsessive is waking up in the middle of the night.
We all do that.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And the compulsive is running to the computer and making sure that somebody gets their audition.
Call me because I'm up at 3 a.m. going, I have to
I
get
can
the blog
tell.
entry. I have to get the, so yeah. But I think when you
Yeah.
care,
You care.
you're passionate about what you do, it's your work, but it's part of your heart. It's not
For
just
sure.
a job. So
You totally get it.
makes
But
sense.
it's like neurotic, diligent. Which side of the prism are you
Yeah,
going to look at it
true,
through?
true.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
What do you think to date has been your most important life lesson?
You're not done.
That's good,
It
right?
doesn't end. The
Yeah.
lessons don't end. Is that the lesson I learned this morning, I'm not finished.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
probably one I'm going to get in the car on the way home.
Yeah.
There's probably one I'm going to get tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if you stay open, you'll keep getting them. My friend Pat Fraley, mentor,
course.
practically
Awesome.
family.
Yes.
He's been on the show, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And he once said of me that life's big stick had beaten me to tender. That's a Pat one for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's the biggest lesson is that, you know, when life's big stick beats you, it's what you do with it,
Yeah.
and it can either make you more tender or tougher.
Tougher.
And it's made me tougher on myself. I've always been tough on myself,
Yeah.
but
Right.
I think it's actually made me a little bit more tender.
Good for you.
Yeah. Acting for advertising. What does that mean and why do you teach it?
Oh, thank you for asking. Acting for advertising.
You're welcome, Nancy.
That's
She's
all
so
that's what we're
polite.
here to do, right? Acting for advertising refers to the library of learning modules that I have. I have MP3s that I have people buy before particular lessons that they have with me, and I've titled that whole library Acting for Advertising.
And
Then
this is
there-
available, on braintracksaudio.com.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's
good.
available on braintracksaudio.com, and that refers to the coursework learning modules that are lectures that people listen to before I coach them on a particular concept or chapter in the coursework.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to be in lessons with me to buy them. They're up there, but it makes a whole lot more sense if you're in the coursework.
Sure.
Because when you are in the coursework, you listen to the learning module, right? And then I'll send you the coursework chapter that goes with it, and you get the exercises, and you get me working you out on the boot camp of getting them into your operating system.
Yeah.
Right.
That also refers to videos that I sell that are in there that are not necessarily on advertising. So Acting for Advertising sort of deals with my learning modules that go with the coursework chapters that are on advertising. But there are learning modules in there for animation, breaking into audiobooks, and there are 3 really killer learning modules right now. There will be more that are video learning modules, and those have just taken off, and they're really fun.
Yeah.
That's
well, and
cool.
I have to brag about you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Because
She's
I
gonna
love,
brag about
I
you.
love, you know what? When people do what they do, and I like to brag about people. It's better I brag about you than you. No.
Exactly. Thank you.
But your coursework is accredited in universities and colleges. I mean, you've really done your homework. I mean, this is stuff that should be and could be taught in universities and be degree level work. So
I have taught it at UCLA, and yes, it is. I have
Right.
a plan for people. I had somebody on one of the blogs answer a question that said, like, I heard that this is difficult work with Nancy. What should I do? Is there anything I should know? And one of my students, he's Swedish actually, he said, basically, if you just listen and do, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
I got the plan. I did the hard work on my end.
Yeah.
And if they'll just show up and do what I tell them to do, it's likely that I'll get them there in the way that I need to get them there.
Don't argue with Nancy.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine.
Exactly. Take your medicine.
Well, you can take issue. I learn a lot from students.
worry.
No, truly, like I had a student a couple of days ago where I was sort of in the rote of, okay, what's the subtext of this piece of copy?
Yeah.
And I was just kind of going about my thing, and she said what she thought that it was, and I was like, no, it's not that because it's this. And she said, well, no, I don't think that's what it is. And I have to stay open, right?
Yeah.
And she was totally right. I'd been working on that piece of copy for 10 years, never thought about it like how she pointed it out to me. I was like, ooh, I'm eating it. You're right.
Wow.
You're right. So yeah, that happens.
That does,
if you're smart, you can.
It's good that you
And good
recognize
for
it.
you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
Good for you to be. There's new ideas. Yeah, that's awesome.
You used to be an agent.
Yes.
So you know how agents think. What do you think are some mistakes people make when trying to look for representation?
They miss the empathy widget. They're not thinking about what the agent might need or want, and they're not thinking about the agent's needs or circumstances. And again, this work here is so broadly applicable to any other pursuit of any other kind of job, or even applying to colleges. I don't know how young your audience is. I'm sure it runs the gamut, right?
18 and up, man.
See,
yeah, it's
mean,
crazy.
You're going for any interview for anything. The best thing that you can do is research the place that's interviewing you and not make it about yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious in the conversation that it's about you.
Yeah.
So don't make it about yourself. Do your homework. Do some research on the talent agency. See what their roster's like. Listen to their roster. I mean, I used to have bootleg copies of compilation reels of all the talent that lived on rosters, and I would give them to my students, and I would send them home to memorize them and come back to me. They would say, I want to go shop for an agent. And I would say, where? And they'd say, well, everywhere. And I said, you're not going to carpet bomb Hollywood with your demo.
Right.
We're going to go through this surgically.
Yeah.
Let's start with this agency. I want you to listen to everybody on their roster. Well, people didn't used to have access to that. Well, they do
They
now.
do now, yeah.
And so you can listen to everybody on their roster and think about how you can be useful to them. Because agents have a spring-loaded no. They don't need anybody else. If they needed anybody else, they wouldn't be in business. So if they're in business and if you want representation from them, they probably don't need anybody else. So you have to debunk that spring-loaded no and figure out how you can be unique on their roster. Now, typically, if you've done the right branding homework, you know what's unique and evocative about your personal style. But it sure doesn't hurt to go listen through the entire library of everybody that they represent, or at least the entire library of everybody who they broadcast that they represent.
Exactly.
Right.
And come up with why they wouldn't represent you. And then debunk that.
And then debunk that.
I live between this person and this person. Come up with how you could be a hybrid. I'm a
Yeah,
little bit
I'm a
like
hybrid.
I'm a hybrid of
That
this
sells
person
today.
and this person.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little bit this person's vocal tone and style, but a little bit this person's attitude, but much more of that person's age. And if you can refute the, we're full and we have no more room at the inn thing when you come on in, then you're actually giving them something rather than asking them for something. You're giving them something that they don't have.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I like that
Great way to
approach.
think about it. Yeah.
That's it's scientific.
Neurotic.
Neurotic. You call it
exacting.
neurotic, I call it scientific.
Calculated.
Calculating. There we go.
Oh, my
It's a
goodness.
business. I think that's the thing that a lot of people forget about this.
It is a
It's a
business.
business. This is not like actor schmactor classes.
No.
I want you to make money. I want you to
Yes.
make the money back that you've spent on me inside a year. I want you to make the money back that you've spent on me, on your lessons, on your demo, on your website, on your online casting memberships. I want you to make your money back.
Yeah.
This is something where you can do that. And inside a year, sometimes people do it within the first week of being out of the gate,
Yeah.
with or without a human being taking to you.
True.
But it's a business, and I think that people forget that it's a business as well.
Yeah.
So when they're pursuing a talent agent, they're not just looking for somebody to like them and think that their stuff is aesthetically interesting.
Yeah.
They're looking to get into business with somebody. So another thing that they can do is talk about the money that they've made for themselves, because who doesn't want to represent somebody who's hardworking enough to have made enough money for themselves?
Exactly.
That's a good risk.
Absolutely.
Everybody's a stock. Am I going to put money on that stock?
Yeah. I remember our good friend Scott Rummel said to me, if you treat your business like a hobby, it's only going to cost you money.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
If you treat it like a business, this business, the voiceover business, if you treat it like a business, it could pay you like no other business out there. And it's so true.
I think,
the opportunities are so huge,
it's massive.
that for you to be like, oh, oh no, I can't, it's like, you tried buying a McDonald's lately? You're basically buying a job for $1 million.
Well, I think the illusion is because it's so damn much fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun that can be distracting from the fact that it's actually a business.
Exactly.
And if you can work both sides of your brain, right? The business side of your brain and the raw creative side of your brain, and fuse those together, if you can be your own hunter and gatherer, and you can be your own raw creative.
Hunter and gatherer.
Yeah, you're hunting
like
and
that.
gathering stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, gone are the days when you had to just be a pure creative and you could marry yourself up with somebody who was the hunter-gatherer of opportunities. Right? Now it's a get to, have to, but you get to, have to be a hybrid person yourself. You are one part creative and you're one part business person.
Yeah.
And the more that you look at it and respect it like a business, the most fun business you'll ever be in, the better you'll do.
Wow. If you guys don't watch this episode like 8 times in a row and take notes, you're crazy.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say, right?
Well, as you know, we put out an All Points Bulletin, got some viewer video questions.
Oh, right.
And
Yes.
so we have 4 questions for you. We want to play these now, and we'll see what she says.
See, this is a good indicator of someone who's going to do well in the business. You put this out there,
Yeah.
who's hungry? Who wants it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Okay, here we go.
Hi, Nancy. How you doing?
I'm Ed Fisher, and I have a question for you. If you're doing a spot that's going to be used strictly on the radio, and then you find out later that it's actually going to be used under a video, should you do a different kind of production? In other words, the same copy, if it's going to be used for radio only, or if it's going to be used for video, whether it be on YouTube or a TV or whatever, do you treat it differently? That's my question.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. That's a good question.
Okay, so a couple of assumptions. My first reaction is that it'd be terribly unlikely that you would get the same piece of copy to audition that they would use for those 2 very different forms of media.
Exactly.
The way that the VO is baked into a TV spot is different. The length of it could be different, and the way that it's used as the primary storyteller in media that's for radio, totally different context. So I'd be surprised if that's the case, but I don't think Ed would have asked that just out of the ether. That must have come up because it came up for him.
Yeah.
So I would say that if it is the same copy, I would bet that it's rather short. Sort of deducing this back up the flow chart, right?
Yeah.
I would bet that it's rather short so that it could be tagged at the end of TV or at the end of radio.
Right.
Because it can't be the singular storyteller throughout an entire radio spot if it's going to be clipped into media where it's narrating pictures.
Right.
So if it is the same piece of copy, then I would say your best bet is to pace it out like poetry, and that way it will sound like you're seeing the pictures as they're unfurling above your head, because ultimately they will be. And if it turns out that they'll only use it for radio, your editor back at the ad agency or wherever will probably tighten your gaps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Great.
That's good. Good answer.
Good. Okay.
But wait, there's more.
This is coming.
We're going high tech here, people.
This is coming from John.
Hey, VO Buzz Weekly. John LaPiana from West Palm Beach, Florida. I've been a big fan since episode 1, and I gotta say, you guys rock. When I heard that I had an opportunity to get a question of mine answered by the Nancy Wolfson, I knew I had to jump at the chance. But first, a little background. Although I'm new to voiceover, I have had a few paid jobs, but I still consider myself to be a hobbyist at this point. I'd like to carve out a career in voiceover, but I'm not sure yet exactly where I would best fit in. I've considered audiobooks, but I don't really have a recording space suited for long-form recording. I've done narration, trailers, video game, and animation characters. I've also produced my own videos in which I puppeteer, narrate, and even sing. Now, I love singing, and I really love rock and roll, but I've discovered that my voice is more suited for country, which I've grown to love. Likewise, I love doing characters and voices, but I realize that animation may not be a possibility for someone living in Florida. I want to start building a voiceover brand. So my question is, how can I figure out where I might be best suited in the world of voiceover? Thank you for your time, Nancy, and thanks again to everyone there at VO Buzz Weekly for this opportunity. And for all you watching, I always make time for a little buzz. And so should you. Take care.
Thank you, John.
John, that was awesome, man. Really cool. Great question.
Cool.
Well, it was just so comprehensive. It's my personal belief that a person ought to study commercial first. I just believe that that's the phonics before you learn how to read.
Why? Quickly.
Because you
One
have
word. No, I'm just kidding.
money.
Good. That's good. That's good.
Money,
Yeah.
because it's the easiest territory in which to start recouping your expenses, and because you have to get into a secondary reality where you're pretending it was your idea to say somebody else's stuff, and I think that it's easier to do that as a representative of Toyota narrating pictures of what's happening above you while you're talking on Toyota than it is to do that as a chicken on fire, a talking coffee mug. So I think building characters stands upon the scaffolding of good commercial skills. So, and not everybody's going to agree with me on that. My coursework is designed to build it out that way.
Yeah.
And I fully respect that a lot of other people don't teach it that way, but that's how I teach it. So I would say commercial first, and then out of that, that's when I determine whether somebody would be best suited to next invest in, because I can't forget the fact that this is an expensive investment for people.
Right.
What's next for them after that? I would say either narration or animation.
Right.
Animation, sometimes I throw people animation study early because they're having a difficult time playing pretend. And even if they're not going to be auditioning for animation, which in many regards does want you living in Los Angeles, studying animation and studying character work can unlock people in a lot of ways. So the work of studying character work, sometimes the goal isn't always the goal. Character study can really help people unlock some blocks back in the area of commercial work. So I would say commercial, then narration or animation, and then promo after that. He asked a question at the very beginning of the question about, well, I thought about audiobooks, but I'm not sure if I've got the right recording space for that. I wanted to answer that part of it. I don't know if you have the attention span for that. That's what really grinds people about audiobooks.
Yeah, exactly.
Is, are you a literary person? Can you sit there? One of the best bits of advice that I think I've ever heard about audiobooks came from my friend Hillary Huber. We interviewed her in an MP3 that's in my store about breaking into audiobooks. And this was just Sherry, okay? She said, everybody says they want to get into audiobooks, and a lot of people say they want to get into children's audiobooks. Well, of course, because it's short, right?
Yeah,
She's like, that market is totally glutted. She said, what I challenge anybody to do is go grab a book off your bookshelf, and if you don't have a book on your bookshelf, then audiobooks is probably not for you.
That's a good
Do you want me to just interject that?
Yeah.
But she said, go grab a book off of your bookshelf, generally something around 350 pages, and sit down at the edge of your bed and start reading. How's it going? You want to kill yourself by page 9? Then audiobooks is not for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's not even so much about the size and space of your booth necessarily, but the size and space of your patience.
Yeah.
And, animation's more about, do you really have that comedy gene? But I think a lot of people would like to play with that, and I think a lot of people can benefit from that, but I think everybody's best suited to start with an understanding of commercial.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Right with you there.
Plus, they're producing commercials every day. They're not producing new shows every day.
Well put.
There's more. Okay.
We got another one for you.
Got another one. This comes
Who's
from...
this from?
Charles.
Miss Nancy Wolfson, would you like to hear this voice in one of your commercials?
So I think that Charles wants you to cast him. Thank you for your question, Charles.
You know what? Here's why I might. Because it takes a certain kind of personality to put themselves out there like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's
Exactly.
a person who's willing to play.
Exactly.
He's willing to be vulnerable. He's willing to put himself, he's willing to just submit a video question. Let's just start there.
Yep.
He's willing to play, and he seems like he's a lot of fun. And he probably thinks that it's because of the sound of his voice. Of course he does. He has a totally lovely voice. It's strong and interesting and probably more powerful than anybody else in his friend community.
Right.
But that's not what's interesting to me about Charles. What's interesting to me about Charles is that Charles had the courage to ask this question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did
That's
you
what
hear
makes it
that,
valuable.
Charles?
Way to
You
go,
got guts,
Charles.
man. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Okay. This is our last question.
Okay.
Is from Anne.
Hi,
Here
Anne.
we go. Hi, Anne.
Hi, Nancy. It's Anne Ganguzza. My question for you is this. Over the past 10 years, as we all know, we've had major advancements in technology, and it's completely changed the way that we communicate with one another, as well as how we perform simple everyday tasks. how is a voice talent of today different or similar to a voice talent from, let's say, 10 years ago? And what is it that I need to do today? What do I need to bring to the party that will make my voice and my voiceover business stand out in the crowd? Thank you.
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
That is a fantastic question.
It's almost as fantastic as Anne's hair. Anne's got great
I know.
Anne does have
Ganguzza.
awesome
the
hair.
Good Hair Club.
Yes.
That's an excellent question. Well, we started to address that a moment ago, right? When we were talking about this hybrid talent of today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? I think people who were successful were always one part business brain, but now it's a deal breaker. The successful talent of today recognizes how to perform, but also how to run a business and how to, that's another aspect of what I do with people.
Yes.
Right? It's not just the breaking down of a script and learning how to perform.
Right.
It's not even just understanding how your brand stands out in the marketplace, but how to run your business. Because a lot of actors, especially the old school actors, and I mean old school from just not that old, like just about
Yeah.
10 years ago. Right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say 2 years ago.
2 years ago, right? They outsourced a lot of the business aspects of their
Right.
business.
Yeah.
And you give up a lot of power when you do that. And a lot of my work with people, whether it's about finding your own personal style and your own voice, is about empowering them.
Yeah.
And when you run your own business, it's even more empowering. So I think that things have really gotten more empowering, but with that comes the burden of more homework. So a lot of the talent that's out there today that's watching this
Yeah.
are fully aware that they're having to track their own invoicing, they're having to do their own marketing, and smart marketing. No more coffee mugs.
Right.
Marketing that is about the person to whom you're marketing and things that they could need or use, or just don't do it at all. Viral marketing, social media. I teach people how to monetize Twitter. I teach people how to monetize Facebook. All of those things used to fall into the business bucket that was relegated to what we were calling a hunter-gatherer or an agent.
Yeah.
And now it's become a get to, have to. You won't be able to hobble along in this business if you don't take on some of those skills and tasks.
Yeah.
And I am excited about helping people learn how to do those things.
Yeah.
It's very empowering.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to stand out, that's the key right there.
It's not just learning how to read copy, it's learning how to
Yeah.
run a
Exactly.
business. And
Exactly.
the first responsibility of any business is to return profit to shareholders, right?
Yeah.
You're your own shareholder.
Yes.
So,
Hello?
Yeah.
Return some profits.
Yeah.
We've got it's a lot of fun and games to play the talking green apple, and that's cute and all, and it's good at parties, but if that apple's not making you money, it's not an apple I want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Very
Love
good.
it. Love it. So tell us, current projects, what's coming up for you? What can we look forward to seeing?
this year, I'm releasing a new video, Hit the VO Bullseye. If you can ask yourself smart questions before you start making noise, you'll hit it in fewer takes. This graph is cherry. I have a magic graph, and it's coming out this month, I believe. Well, this month or next month.
Okay.
Depends how many midnight hours I still have left
Yeah,
of
yeah,
midnight
yeah,
oil burn. But I'm working on editing that right now, and it's really excellent. It's about helping talent eyeball a piece of copy and address the energy issue in one quick snap.
Nice.
So,
So important.
It's a word that directors overuse, and they could mean 100 different things behind that word,
Yeah.
more energy. And it helps talent be more articulate when they're asking a director, what do you mean?
Right.
Faster, louder, happier, make it more important to you, make it more urgent to myself.
Yeah,
Right.
because you have to make that switch on a
Right.
dime. You don't have
Energy
time.
could be
Yeah.
kinetic, louder, or it could be emotional. And so I have a graph that I teach to people, and it's been one of my coursework chapters for about 5 years. Almost got it finished, but it will be for release this year. And I'm really
Nice.
excited about
Great.
it.
That's
Can't
cool.
wait to
Woohoo.
see that.
It's a-
Braintracksaudio.com.
Yeah, it's a one-shot. Yeah.
Cool, cool.
Very nice.
Love that.
I think we got a little surprise
Okay,
for Nancy.
Nancy, you've seen our show.
We're going to put you on a
You're a
spot
good
over
sport.
here. Not just a spotlight.
Pick a number between 6 and 129.
27.
27. Can I just tell you? Gray Delisle picked 27. That's her favorite number.
Really?
And you guys are in this month. Something about this month of January. It's going to be a good year, sister.
Better.
Okay.
It's because I've read the book. No, I'm kidding.
She knows every question.
Memorized. Okay.
Well, we're
This
going to
is-
find out in
This
a
is the
second.
perfect question for you.
Yeah.
Yikes.
If you suddenly found the courage to do one thing you have always been afraid of doing, what would you want it to be?
Like leave the house? I've done that today. Next question. Take a vacation?
Take a vacation,
Yeah,
really?
I'm a bit of a workaholic.
Wow.
When was the last time you had a proper vacation?
What do you call proper?
Like you
didn't-
booked out, you didn't.
didn't
It wasn't
bring your
going
phone
to.
with you.
It wasn't a seminar you were giving. It wasn't
Not
anything
work-related?
Yeah.
How long?
When was the last time that you did that? Do you have a year?
She can't even remember. This is
How long?
Was it in this?
This is good for you, bad for her.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's big, Nancy.
10 years ago?
Okay.
I think it was-
So
Ah.
I
it's
went to
time.
Europe for, like 16 minutes. Boo, 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 I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice
Okay.
architecture, good buildings. I'm done.
So
Okay.
it's
I got work to do.
So it's
Well-
next. That's what's next.
But when you go on vacation, do you like to just completely unplug, or are you,
I'm a stimulation junkie. I'm not a beach person.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't sit on a beach. I like to learn. I like to go and do and see.
Right.
And so, sure, anything that's stimulating, sure. I'm
Yeah.
city, not a beach. I'm a city
Okay.
person.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, Nancy's
you
going
go.
on vacation hopefully soon.
I'll go with you guys.
Absolutely.
We'll tell
Hey,
you.
well, I'll tell you what, you're going to have a good time, though. You might even get in trouble. We might end up in jail or something like that. But
I just picture you like busting into the airplane bathroom and like catching me texting or something.
yeah,
Saying out loud.
that would happen. That would totally happen.
You're like, wait, I just have to do this one post. Hold on.
Exactly.
One more tweet.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Love it.
First of all, we'd like to thank everybody out there that turned in questions for
Yes.
Nancy. We
Absolutely,
appreciate your
thank you.
time. Thank you for having the guts to do what everybody else didn't do. Nancy, thank you,
Thank you.
for being on VO Buzz
Thank you.
Weekly.
Thanks, Nancy.
Such
Thank
a
you.
pleasure
So
to have you on the
amazing.
Thank
show.
You guys ask questions nobody asks. Thanks for watching. It was great being on the show. I hope you guys learned something. And thank you to those of you who submitted quite vulnerably your questions to have them answered. Anybody who's interested in watching what it would be like to spy in on a therapy session, you guys got it here.
Wow, was that some great information or what?
Yes.
That concludes part 2 with our friend Nancy Wolfson. Be sure and tune in next week for another awesome episode of VO Buzz Weekly.
And thanks again to John and Ed and Anne and Charles for submitting your questions. We really appreciate it. Keep up with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at VO Buzz Weekly. And just remember, you guys, you always have time for a little buzz.